End of day 20 of the Undercover Policing Inquiry, Tranche 2, Phase 2. It's an early finish. It was the second day that Helen Steel was given evidence. I'm joined with Jonathan, who's been following the proceedings the same as I have today. We've heard a lot about the stuff to do with Debenhams, the aftermath of the Debenhams attacks, stuff about these 200 lab rats that Helen Steel was looking after. Jonathan, what do you think of the evidence you've heard today?
Well, it's interesting stuff. It's my first time here today. Quite a short session. I'm not entirely sure why. Good to see Helen. I haven't seen her for many years. And yes, it's just nice to at last have the opportunity to hear somebody telling their truth. I found some of the questioning to her somewhat repetitious. And it feels at times that it's almost, in this case, Helen on trial. The question is asked and then it's asked again. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. And it feels like, are you really sure? Yes, I'm sure. And then we had a lunch break, and then they called time fairly shortly after, and I'm not quite sure why.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I'm not entirely sure why that is either. I think there is an element of. So on Wednesday, wasn't it, when Helen last gave evidence? There was this. I mean, this session of evidence was not meant to be related to John Dines or the reports of John Dines about her. And when we got to a report that was written by John Dines that they wanted to ask questions about, Helen found that very difficult. We went to a break, and I wonder if they have put those all into one section, and then I'm going to ask her about them on Monday morning in the hope that she'll be able to deal with it much better first thing in the morning. And it'll be useful when it feels like this isn't official, but it seems like that the questioning towards civilian witnesses is largely in order to draft the questions for the undercover officers. So I wonder if there's some things that they want to ask her on Monday morning that they want to make sure are fresh, so that they can be put to Bob Lambert like immediately afterwards. I don't know that, but that's my guess. There's. As you might be, as a lot of people might be aware, a lot of Helen's disclosure has come very late. She has a huge amount of disclosure, obviously because she is so experienced in litigation. She is very conscientious with the way that she prepares for litigation, and she doesn't feel that she's been given enough time or resources in order to. We saw a bit of that today when they were asking her why one particular answer to one particular question did not include every detail around that topic. And she was like, I was putting this together by myself. It's a huge document. Didn't have the opportunity to do that properly. And I think. I mean, I was kind of, it doesn't mention the colour of her mother's hair either. I mean, just the idea that every detail had to be in every answer, it just seemed ridiculous to me. But I wonder if, I mean, there is an element where the inquiry is attempting to appear to be giving her every opportunity. And I think by having shorter sessions, finishing early, they're trying to show they're not putting undue stress on her. I mean, that is in a context where they've put undue stress on her massively in advance of the hearings. So I mean, it's a bit too little too late, really. But I think that's what they're attempting to do overall. In terms of the questioning we heard today, as you say, it was a huge amount of repetitious, and there were some times where she was asked not just, are you sure, but could it be that you're not telling the truth, which I found quite offensive personally.
Yeah, I mean, clearly someone's got to get a kind of a good handle on what's going on, but it struck me that Helen's looking at this from 2 points of view. For any of us, you say, what do you remember about 40 years ago? And some of it would be clear and some of it less so with the passage of time. But of course, from the people that were spied on, they're coming from this, it's like having two heads that could muddle and confuse. You're looking back with the head of what you now know to be the case. And they're saying, what do you remember about almost 40 years ago? And it seems to me, because I was trying to put myself in the position of the person there being questioned, in this case Helen, and she's looking back trying to think of how she was feeling at that time without the knowledge that she's now got. So it's retrospective with the knowledge of having been deceived.
I mean, also, more than that, it's not even, a lot of the questions aren't even about factual events. They're about what was the thought process in your mind in order for you to come to this decision, which is, like, seriously, man, like, really, you know. The idea that anybody could remember that after 40 years is a bit ridiculous. I think she was very, very good. She was very precise in what she did remember, particularly about factual events, about who was there when, particularly around the meetings to do with Debenhams, because of what happened with the Debenhams attacks. I mean, it seems, you know, it's understandable why she remembers the one meeting that she went to so well, and the detail of that meeting so well. It is, I mean, it does seem somewhat strange that we'll end up having 3 days of evidence of Helen Steel, yet it doesn't feel like there's been this hyper-focus on particular events, a particular thing with Debenhams, a particular thing with certain singular events that have happened. Debenhams above all else, really, with this phase of hearings. It doesn't really feel like it goes to the heart of what the problem with the undercover policing was. And I think that's partially because the inquiry, in terms of what it's able to do, has the opportunity to refer things to the Miscarriage of Justice Board. And this is something that it can do because there's a miscarriage of justice inherent in what happened. But it is somewhat frustrating. It's not going deeper. It's not going further, right?
Yeah, and from what I'm led to believe, you know, there's been a lot of prevarication leading up to this. And people giving evidence are having to rely upon statements that they might have written some while ago. And obviously it's very mentally draining and tiring being put on the spot like this. And I think she held up to it very well, but you could tell that she was tired. Whether that had a bearing on this afternoon being curtailed, I don't know. But all I would say is the very best of luck to her, and the very best of luck to all the other people who were spied upon.
Yeah, she will be back on Monday. There'll be further questions for Helen Steel on Monday morning, after that in the afternoon, and then for the whole of the rest of the week we'll be hearing from the undercover police officer Bob Lambert, HN10, cover name Bob Robinson. It feels like we've been talking about Bob Lambert for months. I mean, I think it's 5 weeks we've been hearing evidence about him, essentially, mostly about him. So we'll have 5 days of him being questioned. Hopefully we'll get some answers to so many of the questions people have left unanswered. I've got a funny feeling we probably won't. I would imagine there's going to be a great deal of obfuscation and bullshit, quite frankly, from Bob. Will you be following next week?
I hope to be, yes.
Yeah, tune in for that. I'll do a Twitter Spaces this evening, as I always do, after every day of hearings. And I'll do like a weekly summary on the Ko-fi blog of like everything that's happened this week. Really encourage anybody who's been following this stuff to help share it. If you'd like to get involved more, please get in contact with the Campaign Opposing Police Surveillance. We need more people engaged in campaigning around this issue. Anything else you want to add, Jonathan, before we sign off?
I'll just wish everyone a pleasant weekend.
Have a great weekend, everyone. Cheers for that now. Bye.